This is the day that I watch Off Campus season 1. I have been waiting for this, what feels like for forever. And I have a long day ahead of me of watching this because I do plan on watching this mostly in one sitting. So I don't want to do a long intro. I just want to get into it. I'm going to press play. I'm going to watch the episode and then I'm going to come back to you guys and give you my reaction. It's going to be like we're basically on FaceTime. I might do more of like an analytical, I can't talk. I might do more of an analytical review type of video later on as like a separate video. But for this one, I'm just going to be talking to you of what I think. And I might also talk about some of the changes that stick out to me. Probably not every single little change because then this video would never end. But anything that's significant or sticks out to me, I will talk about them in this video. So without further ado, let's watch Off Campus season 1. Okay, y'all, I just got done with episode 1. Okay, so it I guess because I have read the book, it feels fast paced, but not too fast paced because I think it has to do a lot in the first episode where it has to establish a lot of different things. Like we have to be introduced to all the main players, which is all the 4 boys. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. And then we have to be introduced to Hannah, obviously, Justin, Allie, and also we have to set up what the entire premise of the book is, which is a fake dating romance. Okay, okay. I was just glued to the TV and I should have written notes probably, but I didn't write notes. So watch me as I try to talk through this. I liked the first episode. There are some elements that are a little bit or a lot of bit different. Namely, it looks like Hannah inspires Garrett right off the bat because there's a scene where he is at his game and immediately you already know that his father's presence kind of makes him anxious and it's putting his head out of the game. But then when he thinks back to when he was seeing Hannah sing and dance along to music, where she was just kind of like being free with music and herself, that helped him to play better. So that's definitely something different about it. And I don't mind that change. I think that is kind of like planting the seed of a growing connection, which I can't wait to see that connection grow over the next several episodes. I appreciated that. I think so far Belmont embodies Garrett pretty well. He is super, super focused on hockey, but it is something that he kind of was born into because his dad was a famous hockey player. But he's still super serious about it. And he's very much like, this is like my one and only focus. So I can't do serious relationships. I only do casual. The cockiness is still within him. He can talk about himself very highly. And Hannah makes sure to call him out on that, which I do love because that is one thing about our Wellesley is she never misses an opportunity to let Garrett Graham know about himself. And she also makes it a point to say how she doesn't like hockey. She finds it a violent sport, and to her, I guess she just doesn't like that, which is, you are, she's entitled to her opinion, I guess. And I really liked Allie in this episode. She was a standout to me because she comes off as very supportive and very encouraging and protective of Hannah. And what more can you ask for a best friend? So I'm actually really looking forward to possible more heart to hearts that her and Hannah have. I mean, I feel like I want her to be my best friend in real life. So I think Mika is doing a really good job so far. And Ella Bright as Hannah Wells from the first episode that I've seen so far, I like what I'm seeing so far. So cuz like to me Hannah is she's a guarded girl, but she's a strong person as well, but she's also like very sarcastic and she's funny. And we see all those shades of her so far. So I can't wait to uncover even more. As a book reader, it's really funny to see things that they've added, like Instagram. That's something that is not mentioned in the book. It came out in 2015, which I'm pretty sure we had Instagram in 2015, but there's just isn't really social media in the book. I did see a couple of Easter eggs, like when Hannah is going through her playlist in the first episode, we do see Tuesday's Gone on there. And then when she has a conversation with her music teacher, they talk about um I think she had written some kind of paper about One Direction or something like that. And that's a little Easter egg because as book readers, we know that Hannah loves One Direction. I had no idea that Josh Houston was going to be keeping his Australian accent for this show. That was a great idea because that's just going to add on to like the sexiness and like the crush. So I really like that. What else? What else? Oh, let's talk about the boys. Okay, so we've established the boys. We know that Logan is the handy one. He is fixing up the sink and he is trying to unclog certain things. Of course, he finds a condom. So it was obviously most likely probably Dean. I think they've established Dean as being like the horn dog, even though in the books we all know that pretty much all of them are man whores, but in different ways. Dean is a lot more like overt about it. I think they have established that pretty well. And then we know that Tuck is the one that cooks for everyone. And I noticed he's just so cute. I think all the people who were just tripping about him being cast are just going to get over it. He's very cute. And I really like that training montage of them out in the yard at the hockey house training together because it's just establishing that they are all very dedicated athletes, I guess. And they're tight like that. Gosh, what else happened in the first episode? We see some flashbacks. We can gather that Garrett had a kind of like a tough childhood. We see really quick flashbacks of his parents arguing, and he was a child and looking kind of scared and angry. And then for Hannah, we saw a really quick flashback of her in, it looked like a therapy session. And then we do see a really quick flashback of a guy from her past. So, like I said, it was really quick, not much to say there. But obviously, if you're a book reader, you know that it's kind of like alluding to what we know has happened to her in the past. So, those are some of the things that are going to make me just a little bit anxious because, you know, the both of them have suffered past traumas and they're pretty heavy topics. But what I love about how Elle Kennedy writes it in the book, the heavy topics never feel like it's weighing down on the story. It's just like it's interwoven in there. They talk about these things, but it doesn't feel like it's a completely like miserable atmospheric story. So I'm anxious to see how that continues to be conveyed on the screen though. So we shall see. So yeah, I'm eager to go on to the second episode. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna watch it and then come back. Okay, we just ended that episode 2, with what I see as growing feelings, a little bit of jealousy. Okay, so this is very different than the book. There is no costume party. There's no away game that Hannah goes to. There's absolutely no flirting happening between Dean and Allie yet, y'all. That feels like they are starting that up very early because that's Dean and Allie are book 3. But because this is television, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm fully expecting them to switch around the books because that's what Bridgerton did. So, yeah. But that seed is being planted very, very early on because I thought it was a really funny scene because at the costume party, Allie is dressed up as J-Lo and she is just like dancing, just having fun and being very free. And she's like a hot girl in this hot J-Lo dress. And then Dean spots her and he's like, who is that? And then Tucker changes the song to a J-Lo song, and then that way Dean is able to go up to her and dance with her, and then things are getting a little bit like a little close. And at this point, Allie still has her boyfriend, who I kept wondering, boyfriend, where are you? Because he showed up as Ben Affleck, and things were getting a little bit things. I can't talk. Things were getting a little bit close, and she was like, no, no, no. So I like that Allie is still, remembering herself. She's still a loyal girl. Um, because at this point she still has her boyfriend. But I thought the scene, the dancing scene was funny and it was kind of sexy. And again, that is happening really soon. I Dean and Allie do not interact that way at all in the first book. So interesting choices. Um, what else happened in this episode? There was a kiss. Oh my god. Okay. So many things happen and I'm not writing notes because I don't feel like it. Okay. Okay. Look. There is a kiss, which different a little bit. It's the same but a little bit different. So in the book, he does kind of like tease her about like kissing him. So that's pretty much the same. So it happens in his dorm room when they're supposed to be studying. And he's teasing her, and she's like, fine, let's do it. And then they are kissing, they're making out, and they're both like kind of like getting into it. It's getting kind of passionate. And then in walks in Dean in the book. Now I know my Dean girlies really wanted that scene where Hannah not only kisses Garrett, but she kisses Dean. I predict some of the girls are going to be a little angry at this. To me, I could have lived if she didn't kiss one of his teammates. I know. Like, call me crazy, okay? Rake me over the coals, but because it is literally never mentioned again in the book, I just don't feel like that was a need. It might have been a nice to have, but it's not a need. But in this, she kisses Logan right after to prove that she's not affected by Garrett. So like the intention of it is still the same as the book. Although with Logan, does anybody else think that he seems pretty, what's the right word? He seems maybe kind of interested in Hannah even since episode 1, and I think um Antonio plays this kind of subtly, like you maybe have to kind of like really be like on the lookout for it. Maybe book readers will spot it faster than people who haven't read the book, but he seems kind of like he knew her name. And then at the party in this episode, he questions Garrett. He's like, so are you guys like dating? You didn't even know her name. He seems like a little bit interested, a little bit interested in his best friend's supposed love life there. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty much on par with how it happens in the book because early on, Logan does ask Garrett in the book, hey, like your tutor, are you tapping that? Are you interested? What's happening? Is she single? And this is before, anything physical happens between Hannah and Garrett, before anything real happens between Hannah and Garrett. And then Garrett's like, no, she has her sights on someone else. But Garrett also thinks like, I don't like the idea of Logan and Hannah. I don't like that for some reason. I don't like that. But we know why. So yeah, even though it feels a little bit sooner watching it, but it happens like Logan's interest peaks pretty early on in the book as well. So I guess that is something that is pretty accurate. We'll see how that unfolds though, because yeah, that can get a little bit awkward, right? So even though this costume party situation doesn't happen in the book, I didn't mind that change because what was important, one of the important pieces of this episode was Garrett and Hannah just getting to know each other a little bit more. And the growing connection is the essence. It is the essence of the deal, you guys. Like they start from being classmates / strangers to friends to lovers. So I really liked how when they go back into the room because they're at an away game, it's pretty much like pretty chill. I love how they show how both of them are super stubborn. That is very true to both characters in the book, because they're both like, no, I'm gonna get the bed. No, no, you get the bed. And then they just end up both just not laying in the bed because they're just both very stubborn people. But then they end up having a little bit of a heart to heart about how he started hockey. I really like that, because she's kind of like, she's, because like Garrett is like very layered. So she's kind of like uncovering him layer by layer. And then I like how they end up watching, like they send each other funny videos. And then he is watching a video of her singing and it sounds so good and he really likes it. And then he even tells her about how she centered him at the first game that we saw him play at in the first episode. And I liked that. And then he gave Hannah the idea of collaborating with Justin. Okay. But, it's very early stages. We have not acknowledged our feelings yet. So I get it. I liked that though, because I like, because it's very important that we see them becoming like cool with each other and like they're understanding more of each other. And I like that Hannah called out that, like, he could be funny. He is hardworking. He's saying this to one of the Puck Bunnies. I hate that word, but like it's so popular in the hockey romance genre. Yeah. I'm liking it so far. And like I said in the beginning of this episode 2 reaction, I liked how when he sees Hannah and Justin sitting next to each other on the bus, he does not look pleased. No, he doesn't. And so I look forward to more jealousy scenes. I am a slore for a good jealousy scene. And yeah, let's see how this Logan situation develops. Let's see the Dean and Allie thing. What's going to happen there and her boyfriend. What's going on? All right, episode 3. Okay. I was right about the Logan thing. Okay. This man is looking longingly, and I already feel annoyed. That whole like Logan crush thing had always felt just annoying, but he has his own book coming, so we just have to kind of like pause on that. I have not mentioned at all the big change with Logan's sibling. So in the books, he doesn't have a younger sibling, and in the show, they have added a non-binary younger sibling. Her name is Jules, and their name is Jules. And they basically run like a gossip Instagram of the school. I think it's called the Fifth Mile. I have to be honest here. I don't really understand what that adds, because, I mean, if you read the book, that doesn't exist. But in the show, like Garrett is convinced that like, like we need to show Jules that this is real so that the whole school knows. But you only need to get one man's attention. That's Justin. So I don't know what that adds. I don't really know the purpose, but it's not really taking anything away so far. So I'm mostly neutral / confused as to why that's there and why it's added. But like I said, I'm okay with it for now because it doesn't take away anything so far. I'm so happy that they kept the karaoke scene. I thought that was a very important scene in the book because it is all about building trust between Hannah and Garrett, because we know that she doesn't drink at parties for reasons. And then he says it just like in the book, I'm going to be sober, drink if you want, I'll look out for you. Which is showing, the considerate, sweet side to him. Like he never questions or like, why don't you drink? Like he never treats it that way, which I really love and appreciate. And then I really loved the way the camera is zooming in. Well, not zooming in, but it's like showing the reaction that Garrett is having watching Wellesley have fun and just letting go. It brought him like a lot of happiness. And I just love that they kept the karaoke scene. Upon rewatching, I want to say something more about the karaoke scene that I noticed is the fact that like after she's done singing and she walks up to him, they get pretty close and they're smiling at each other and he compliments her. You could see the way that Belmont is acting it as Garrett. He is trying so hard not to lean down to kiss her. Because in the book, in this part, Garrett so badly wants to kiss her because like he loves seeing her so happy and in her element of performing. um he's just feeling so joyous, and you just know like the he's liking her more and more, and he wants to kiss her so badly. So I think this was really well acted. It's kind of subtle, you have to really pay attention. That's why I do recommend fans to rewatch the show so that you can pick up on all the little moments like this. I think book fans might be sad that they're losing the part where they dance together to Tuesday's song. We got to think about maybe what was like a music licensing thing. But I think what's important to remember, even if things change the order, like they're switched around, if the goal is the same, then I think then that's where we want to be, because it's bringing to life in a visual medium, so things are going to be changed up a bit. So I could understand the sadness, but I think it still works because the purpose of that moment is to get them closer together, to build that friendship and the trust, and we accomplished that here. Oh my god, what else? I am so upset at seeing Justin and Hannah making out and getting all intimate. It's in dream sequences. I know, because we're in her head and we have to like visually see, and it's showing that she has that fear of intimacy. So I completely understand why it's there. I don't have to like it. Okay. Hannah only has one man, as we all know. She has her soulmate. It's Garrett Graham. So I don't like to see them with other people. And I think in this episode, they're all blending in together. I apologize. But he is Garrett. Okay, so Hannah walks in on Garrett hooking up with a chick named Zoe. He's going down on her. But that very much came off like, I need some help to get my mind off things, all right? Because we see that like we already get the sense that he is starting to like her. Okay. And the things he needs to get his mind off of is the fact like, whoa, like like she likes somebody else. I need to, I need to hook up with the pug bunny. Like that Zoe chick was very much a distraction because he's thinking about Hannah. That's the way that I interpreted it. But in turn, even though those disgusting scenes between Hannah, the dream sequences between Hannah and Justin are happening, there's a moment where Justin changes to Garrett because she's having some feelings towards Garrett. And I do like that because I thought that was a good visual way to show that at this point in the book, because they've grown a little bit closer, she's starting to trust him, and they did share that kiss. Hannah is starting to feel like she's starting to feel a little something for Garrett. She is, but she's still like, no, but wait, like I've had a crush since the beginning of the semester on Justin, and I can't just forget that. So that's why they're visually showing it the way that they did when she's fantasizing about hooking up with Justin, but then like the face changes to Garrett because she's in that kind of that space, that weird in between place where she still kind of has the crush, she's thinking about Justin, but like she's also thinking about Garrett, and it's like, what's up with that? What's going on? So I liked how they presented that visually, because you kind of have to think about how are you going to depict that, because we're in her head in the book, and that was probably a really good way to depict that on the screen. But I didn't need to see her fake hooking up with Justin twice. That was a little bit much for me. Okay, I'm a diehard OG shipper. I only want to see Hannah with Garrett. That's the fangirl in me. Okay, you can't blame me. We're already seeing Allie having her relationship issues with Sean, because he pretty much doesn't really believe in her dreams to become an actress. And he that shower scene, when they were in the shower scene together and he was telling her all that crap, I hated him in that moment. I was like, dude, go fuck yourself. You're supposed to be supporting and encouraging your girl. But we don't see that till like Allie and Dean's book. So in a way, I kind of feel like we are pretty much doing two books at the same time here, but it's mostly Hannah and Garrett's book. And I remember reading that Teen Vogue article where they had interviewed the showrunner, and she specifically said that they didn't want overlapping. And she was talking about Tucker's book, but I thought she meant for all the books. So maybe is that like a, did she misspeak? Did she lie? Did I misunderstand? I don't know. Because now I'm just really wondering, like, what is going to happen exactly in season 2 or even in season 3? Because we still don't know who is season 2 is going to be, Dean or Logan. But we're kind of really covering part of Allie and Dean's book. So I don't understand how that's going to look like for their future season. But here we are. I think my favorite moment in this was the karaoke scene that leads into them going back to Garrett's hockey house and crashing there. And this is pretty similar to the book. She does kind of come on to him, trying to seduce him because she's trying to hook up with him so that she's trying to battle her issues with physical intimacy. And I love the fact that he was like, no, you're drunk. We're not doing this. That happens in the book as well. And then it ends with her asking him the question, I need you to give me an orgasm. And I cannot wait to see this man's response. And, presumably she's going to tell him the truth about her past and why she has this issue and why she really needs his help. So I think that's it. I want to watch the next episode, so I'm going to watch it, and then we're going to come back and talk. Oh my God. Oh my God. So we have a lot of similarities and then a lot of differences. Let us start to the beginning of this episode. I am so happy they kept in the watch me and let me watch you mutual masturbation scene, because it is a pivotal scene in the book, because this is basically where like trust is a really huge thing for Hannah because of what she experienced. And so that scene in that book when he decides, okay, let's just like stop for a moment and let's just take it with baby steps and let's just get off, let's get ourselves off, but we'll do it, with each other watching. And that's just like, so he does that because obviously that's a very vulnerable thing to do, and it's to gain the trust. And I'm so happy they depicted it on the streamer TV for us. I do feel like it happens a little bit quicker than it does in the book, but I feel like in general things feel like they're moving a little bit quicker, because in a book it feels longer because we are inside these characters' heads. Like we're like feeling all the feels and thinking, and like we're seeing all the thoughts. But I think it still came across. I even love the fact that like when she comes over and they actually start hooking up, my last mic died and I had to switch it, so I don't remember what I said last. I'm pretty sure I was talking about the mutual masturbation scene. I was saying that I loved how the whole thing played out, because I liked how like they start hooking up, but then she freezes, and then she says the words like, I feel like I'm broken, and he's reassuring her like, you're not broken, you just don't trust me to fully let go. That is from the book, and I freaking loved it. I even loved before then, let's rewind, when she tells him about her assault of the past, and then she lets him know, can you please help me with this? And then we're just seeing more layers of Garrett, because he agrees, and he said something that I love. He said, you're my friend and you need me. And he just like immediately says yes, which I freaking loved. It's just showing like his like it's showing that he is that loyal friend, that loyal person, which is very much who he is in the book. And I love how he's always known as like being like very confident and cocky. I love the fact that he gets nervous and he asks Dean for advice, because he is feeling nervous about not being able to help Anna come. And this is a difference in the book. In the book, he actually asks his teammate Birdie, which I see that we did get to see the character really quickly in the show. But I'm okay with this change, because I think this is a way to kind of include the main core more into the show, and I think it's fine. And if you had to ask one of his friends, I think Dean makes sense because Dean is known for having a lot of experience with a lot of women. And he asks him, like, how do I make sure like she comes? And Dean says it just takes trust. And she needs to feel super safe and comfortable with you. And I loved that he said it that way. It's basically what he says to Hannah later, and I thought that was really well done. Like I feel like I said earlier, the mutual scene lasts just a little bit longer, and I kind of wish it lasted a little bit longer, especially since there are scenes in this episode that I feel like last too long, like freaking drunken Shakespeare, which is not a thing at all. And I'm trying to think like, why did we need to have that scene last so long? On one hand, I understand that it's kind of there to visually show like Garrett is pretty much like at the precipice of like trying to realize how he feels, and then he realizes how he feels, and then he's like trying to find a way to tell her, try to gauge it, which is basically how it plays out at this point in the book. But it's all happening inside of his head, like all of these thoughts that he's having about how he's feeling confused, but then he's like, no, like I think I really like her, and I think I want her, but it's all happening in his head. So this is their way of like visually bringing that to life. I get it, but I think Drunken Shakespeare lasted a little bit too long. I did not need to see all of those things happening on stage. And it just makes me a little bit concerned, because if you're spending extra time doing things that don't happen, you're taking away from certain parts of the story that we do need to see happen, or that need to have enough like time. I just want to see scenes that are supposed to happen have enough time to make that impact. Maybe if we shaved off some of the Shakespeare, we would have had a longer mutual masturbation scene. I feel like I'm sounding like pervy in this, but look, this is from the reader's perspective, and it is what it is. That scene just lasts a little bit longer. We see more Allie shenanigans. I'm still just kind of like surprised how much time we're spending on her. She is basically going back to her ex because she broke up with him, but they are on and off in her book. But again, in her book is when they're on and off, but we're pretty much getting a good chunk of her book in this season. So that is that. I'm just not as interested in that, right? Because like I'm focusing on like the main couple. I am all in on Hannah and Garrett. I am so happy that Hannah realizes with Justin, it's just like that it factor. That thing is not there, like that connection is not there with him. So at the end of that episode is a scene that does not happen in the book, when she goes to the rink when he's practicing, and then she sings. At first, I feel like it does come off really corny. Hey, you guys, I needed to correct myself here because I have changed my opinion on the scene upon rewatch, and I felt so strongly about it that I needed to interrupt myself and make that very clear. But I didn't realize until rewatching that in this scene, she's singing a slowed down piano version of the song that they were hooking up to the first time. And how Garrett said he felt about it was that it makes him feel bold, saying, I like you, just deal with it. And that's basically what she is saying in this scene while he's practicing. And that's why he has that sudden phase of realization. Don't judge me for not realizing until rewatching. Please be kind to me. But now that I have more understanding and I get the full context of it, I actually really love this scene. It's so, so cute and precious. And I just needed to call that out. All right, proceed. Because, like, why are you deciding to sing? But he does say something a few episodes back about how her singing helps to ground him. So maybe that's why she chose to sing. But I went from thinking, oh, this is corny, to, oh, this is kind of sweet, when like he realizes, oh, I hear a voice. That's Hannah. Like, I'm gonna go find her. And then he runs up to the music box to go and find her. And then the episode ends there. I thought that part was cute. But it did start out just like a little corny for my taste. That happens very differently in the book. In the book, once Garrett hears that Hannah is planning on going out on a date with Justin, he goes straight to her dorm and then he's like demanding for her to answer him, saying, "Are you going out with him? What do you mean? You can't go out with him? Like what?" So it's kind of like they have like a fight about it in the book. Um, which he does piss me off in the book because he goes to her dorm mad at her for going out with Justin, but dude, you never took the time to let her know how you felt. You have told her you don't do relationships, but then you're going in there and you're pissed off at her. He got me mad in that, and I'm happy in the book she lets him know, like, you told me that you don't do girlfriends. You can't just barge in here thinking this and that and the third. So one thing about Wellesley, she will give her piece of her mind, and I love that about her. Um, and I think how it's done here. Well, next episode, I guess we'll know more because I just ended this episode, and it ended at the music room or the where she's singing. So we still have to see like the reaction on, like, I guess the confession of like, I like you. But um I think it's fine here so far, that change, because the goal is that they eventually get together. I'm all about the goal. Like, even if things are kind of switched around, they're changed up, if we get to the same goal slash result, I am fine with it so far. I, we're only 4 episodes deep. I may change my tune later on. What else happened? Okay, well, now I'm really itching to watch the next episode, so I'm gonna go watch it, and then I will catch you guys in a second. Okay, hi, that ending scene. We are fully in Allie and Dean's book too. What the fuck? I'm just like, okay, so what exactly? So here's the thing. Initially, I thought I knew where we would end the season, like the way we would end the way we do in the deal, the first book. But now I feel like, wait, if we're pretty much already in Allie and Dean's book, are we gonna have a tragic ending to this season or like a huge cliffhanger? I just don't know what we're doing here. Cause like they're pretty much covering the whole secret fling plot that happens in Dean's book. So I don't know. I don't know, but let's talk about the main couple here, Hannah and Garrett. Oh my goodness, this was so emotional, you guys. But before we get to the emotional, let's get to the spicy. Let's rewind. Okay, I'm downloading the information and just watched it. So many things happen. We start off with Garrett and Hannah talking after she's done doing her romantic grand gesture. And I love that they have a communication before they go like headfirst into a relationship, when he's like, listen, I don't want you as a friend. I love that line. And she's like, okay, you don't kiss your friends this way. So then they're like, all right, no more deals. We're doing this. And then we get a sex montage. I love a good sex montage. It reminds me of the sex montage that we got in Bridgerton in season 1. But I'm not gonna lie, I wish that we could have gotten at least their first time having actual intercourse as like its own scene. And then we could have done a sex montage, just because like, especially for Hannah, the first time with her new man is kind of a big deal. I know we kind of already got that moment when they both got off with each other with the mutual masturbation, but like the intercourse was going to be like the actual next step for her. And I just really would have wanted to see that as its own thing. Okay. But what we did get was pretty good, because there were lots of different types of quick scenes. And I know that a lot of us were concerned about the heat level and the steaminess that was going to be depicted, because this is on Prime. And I thought it was pretty good. Because on the one hand, the books are sexually explicit, but that's in book form. And they're not going to make a straight up pornographic show. But I think they did pretty well. We got to see some nudity. We got to see people going down on each other. That's something that I wanted to see. Yes, call me a perv. I don't care, but it's in the books. So I want to see it depicted on the screen because I wanted to see that be honored because it is a part of the story. And it is actually a very important part of this specific story because it is for Hannah, it's kind of like rebuilding her trust and confidence in being that close and intimate with a partner. So I thought it was super important. My only complaint is just that I just wanted to see a few of those sex scenes have more time to breathe. Again, to what I was saying in the last episode, like you gotta shave down shit that we don't have in the book, like the Shakespeare drunk thing. That scene was so long, and maybe if you shave that down, I would have had more time enjoying seeing just a little bit more fully fleshed sex scenes. You know, it was good. I love that we got to see Garrett meet Hannah's mom over FaceTime because that's something that I actually always wanted to see in the books. Is I always wanted to see Garrett meeting Hannah's parents for the first time. So I'm glad that I actually got a wish fulfilled in that sense, even though it was a pretty quick FaceTime. I also wanted to call out, I think, a really good acting moment that happens outside the building when Hannah and Garrett are talking about Thanksgiving. And then he's kind of asking her, like, you don't go back because of what happened to you. And she goes, yeah. And then he's like, he was an athlete, he played hockey. Just like the acting that was going on that was being unspoken, like they're kind of like he's dealing, like she's giving out this information to him, like the athlete, the hockey thing, and then he's kind of taking it in and he's like, oh, fuck, okay. But she's trying to like move past it quickly because Hannah's whole thing is like she doesn't want like to dwell upon the past. Her whole thing is about like moving forward. So but I loved how he kind of takes that moment and like takes that information in, and then she kind of sees him slipping into that and then kind of like tries to like get him out of it, which she pretty much does that again in this episode when they go when they decide to go back home after Thanksgiving ends up not being very successful. And it's just really heartbreaking because you know that Garrett has this kind of hope that maybe Phil Graham has changed, but then he sees the bruise that Cindy has on her wrist, and he's like, no, nope, nope, he has not changed. Get me the fuck out of there. It was super heartbreaking that he advises Cindy to leave, and Cindy, I mean, she says it's complicated. I'm pretty sure she decides to stay, which is actually a difference in the book because in the book, Cindy and Garrett do have that conversation when he's kind of like telling her, please leave. And then by the end of that scene, she says thank you, and it's kind of like an understanding between them. And but then they decided to change that up for the show, giving us another alternative that I'm sure many people actually do end up staying in those situations, unfortunately, for many different kinds of reasons, whether that's finances or love or control or all the above. So that was hard. The car scene on the way back home was super emotional. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking about it now because I think Ella Bright did a really good job here, just kind of like handling all those emotions because she's just really discovering this thing about her boyfriend and then having to deal with like driving him back because she knows he's not in a good space to be driving, and then Garrett is still kind of like ragey and he's trying to keep it together. So I thought Belmont did a good job there. But I freaking loved the scene in the diner, which does not happen in the book, but I thought it was a good addition here because I think it's another moment where you get to see that love grow. Like they're at the diner and they're having cold turkey sandwiches, and Garrett is just looking at her, and all he says is thank you. He just simply says thank you for this. And she's like, they're just sandwiches. But clearly he is saying thank you for so much more than that. It's not just for the sandwiches. I thought that was a really good writing moment and a really good acting moment because it's just like this is the stuff that like romances are made of. It's all about like it's not only about the spiciness, although I care about the spiciness, as you know, that needs to be in there, but it's about like the in-betweens, the little like slices of life, just the moments of like the looks and when someone doesn't think they're looking, or it's the things that are unspoken but that are kind of like being brought to life in a certain way. So that's one of my favorite scenes so far is the diner scene. I love that a lot. Um and then after that, there's a huge bombshell with Dean and Allie that I already talked about. And then we get a little bit of a glimpse into Logan's home life. He and his sibling Jules. So in the book, he does have an addict as a parent, but it's actually his father. But they've changed it to his mother. I'm curious why. Is there a significance as to why now it's the mom? I don't know. But I'm glad that we got to show a little bit more of what he's dealing with. He's under a lot of pressure, just like Garrett, but also not like Garrett. It's different for him because Logan doesn't come from like a rich family, but Logan also doesn't know the real truth behind Garrett's family. So that's going to be a conversation, I'm sure. Yeah, I can't wait to see what is going to happen next. So, next episode, you're up. Look, I'm not going to lie, it is past midnight. I've watched most of this show, like all of the episodes, except for in one sitting. Tired. So I'm gonna try my best here. This is fully Allie and Dean's season, half of their season 2, because we are seeing pretty much all of their secret fling, which is a bulk of that book. I'm just kind of flabbergasted. All the gasted have been flabbered. All the flabbered have been gasted because holy shit. We're basically seeing the secret relationship, the push and pull. They're trying to just keep it as like a friends with benefits type of thing. But like Allie is known for being a relationship girl. So like Hannah's like, girl, I don't know about you having a fling. But then later on in the episode, she's like, you know what? You're single. Why not? Have a fling. Make sure it's somebody who has no expectations though. Um, so there's like this back and forth between her and Dean, and of course they continue to pursue this uh sex relationship, with no feelings, no strings attached. Okay. I'm curious to know how the Dean girlies feel. I know like The Score is a lot of people's favorite book. It's not my favorite book. I'm not very connected or attached to that couple. I love Allie as a friend. I think she's such a really great friend to Hannah, but like their book, I'm not as connected with, but I know a lot of you are. So I am curious. Please let me know down in the comments your thoughts and feelings on how soon we're getting Dean and Allie, and how pretty much their story is being told, a lot of their story is being told in this season. I think they still have a lot to work with, whether if they're season 2 or 3, which I think they're probably going to be season 2, I would imagine, but the fuck do I know? But I want to know your guys' thoughts because I know The Score has a lot of lovers. Anyway, moving on. The I love you between Hannah and Garrett. It happens differently, but I like it in the show because it's different because in the show Garrett says it first. In the so in the what happens in the book, the first I love you happens because they are coming back home from Thanksgiving and it's kind of somber, but then it gets a little bit sexy because like Hannah is comforting him and then they kind of start hooking up in the car because she's feeling like adventurous. And he says something he says like something dirty, and then she's like, you've got a dirty mouth. And then he's like, yeah, but you still love me. And then she's like, yeah, I do. I love you. So it's pretty similar to the show. Like it's kind of like said in like a accidental joking way, but then like when they repeat it, they actually really do mean it. And I love that it was switched around and we got to hear Garrett say it first. I'm a fan of that because I one of my favorite tropes in romance is he falls first. And I think so I love it even more that he's the one that does say I love you first. Um we do see a little bit of trouble in friendship paradise between Logan and Garrett because Logan asks Garrett's father for a favor for some fundraiser. The fundraiser is really important to him because that was important to Logan when he was coming up in hockey. But Logan also doesn't know the truth about Garrett's father, and Garrett still refuses to let anybody but Hannah know, even though Hannah encourages him, hey, tell him about Thanksgiving. But Garrett wants to keep that close to his chest, which I think he has the right to do. But it's obviously there's so many things left unsaid between him and Logan evidently has like that's his friend, but he has like resentment towards Garrett. But Logan doesn't have all of the information. So I don't think we can be too harsh on him because Garrett refuses to open up. But I understand that Garrett needs to open up in his own time because that is really hard things to talk about. And you can't rush those types of conversations. They happen when they're gonna happen. They're difficult to have. It's like some things are just really hard to even say out loud. So I feel for them. What else happened in this episode? I need to look at the screen so I could see. It's just like a lot of like Dean. Uh, okay. I'm kind of like annoyed that Justin is still in the picture. I shouldn't be surprised because he and Hannah are still writing partners. They're still musical collaborators. I just had kind of hope that like, once she was with Gary, we wouldn't see him as much, which we don't see him a ton, but it's still too much for me. I don't need to see him. I don't need the guy you used to have a crush on to be so present still. But whatever, he's still there. Um, okay, so there's like a huge bomb that drops in this because um Anna's Anna, sorry. I'm getting like upset so I'm like mispronouncing her name. I knew that the show would include Hannah's rapist in the show. In the book, he is mentioned, but we never get to see that character on the page. We see one of his friends that testified against her in court, but we don't see him. Um, so it's revealed that Delaney, the rapist, is one of the guys that Garrett is facing off on the ice. And Hannah knows because she just found out, but she's having a panic attack. But Garrett doesn't know who he's facing off. And that's where the episode ends. And now I feel very anxious because holy crap, like if you read the book, you know what's about to happen. And I already feel stressed and I need to charge my camera. So I'm going to end my reaction right now so I can watch the next episode and also charge the camera. And I will be back in a jiffy. What are we doing? As a book reader, I am very distraught and confused and angry. Okay. Y'all already know these are kind of all over the place. I got to start like backwards, forwards, backwards. I'm going to start off with this breakup. This is vastly different than the book. I'm so mad. I don't know where to start. So in the book, there is a breakup that happens between Hannah and Garrett. But it's because when the fight happens, Phil is at the game and then he deduces, oh, like my son got into a fight because of a girl, like, oh, of course. So then he ambushes Hannah at her job and pretty much blackmails her. He tells her, you need to break up with my son. You're going to break up with my son. Otherwise, I'm going to cut him off. Okay, that means I'm cutting him off from paying his rent, paying his car and his tuition, blah, blah, blah. So then Hannah, being intimidated by her boyfriend's intimidating, abusive father, feels like she has no other choice but to break up with him because she doesn't want him to lose everything. And she is taking Phil's word as truth. He's kind of like a pretty bad guy. She has no reason to not believe that he would cut his son off. So Hannah does break up with him. So then I need to speed this up. He is crushed over it. He gets drunk for a night, but then Garrett pretty much is like, no, I know you're lying to me. I know you're lying to me. So then they're like broken up for all of winter break. And during that time, he's been asking her, oh, so who are you dating now? Because when she broke up with him, she was like, I think we should see other people. So then during the break, he keeps like, so who you're dating now? Who you're dating now? She can never really answer him. And then so she finds out that so she goes back to school during spring semester, and then all of the dudes on campus are acting really weird about her. Like they're acting like they don't want to be near her, and they get away from her. She thinks something really freaking weird is happening. And then Allie's boyfriend breaks the news to her of what is happening. So then the next scene, we see her barging into the locker room where everybody's rinsing off from practice. And then she asks Garrett, she's like, you invoked a campus-wide hands-off law? Are you fucking kidding me? And he's like, of course I did. I knew that your stubborn self will try to prove me wrong by going out with somebody else. And I know that you would feel like an ass for doing so. So I took preventative measures and I told a few key people, and then those key people spread the word. Hannah's like shocked and like laughs it off and tries to leave the locker room. But he's like, no, 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 no. You're going to talk to me. You're going to tell me, why'd you break up with me? And he repeats it. Why'd you break up with me? Why'd you break up with me? And then like a kiss happens, and then he asks her a final time, why'd you break up with me? And then she finally spills the beans and tells him, your father made me. Whew. So then the truth comes out. They go back to his dorm. She tells him the whole story, yada, yada, yada. And then he tells her, hey, babe, you could have just talked to me because I actually have a trust that my mom did behind his back when she was alive. I would have been fine. And then Hannah feels terrible. She feels stupid. She apologizes to him. And then, of course, he forgives her. And then, because they love each other. And then they get back together. That's how that happens. That campus-wide hands-off law, that is a very popular TikTok audio on Book Talk for this book. It's probably the most popular one. And now for the show, they changed it into a real breakup where he's the one who breaks it off with her. So my question to you now is, how in the world can a campus-wide hands-off law happen now if the breakup is real and he broke it off with her? My guess is it's not going to happen, which is really disappointing to me. And I think it will be disappointing to a lot of book readers because it's an iconic moment in the book. It's, to me, one of the best reconciliation scenes in a romance. And I say that because I feel like the third act breakup is kind of annoying because it is using like a I'm not going to talk to you and tell you the truth trope that is oftentimes in romances. But for me, what makes it worth it is the reconciliation scene, because that again, I feel like that shows layers to Garrett. Like that man is so confident and so sure after his one night crash out where he gets drunk because he's heartbroken. But after that, he's like, no, 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 I was just lying. I love the fact, and I think a lot of us love the fact that because he knows that what they have is real and like their love is real. He's confident in it. Like, he's like, she's fucking bullshitting me. She's not telling me the whole story. I know she still loves me. I always say it is one of the two sexiest non-sexual things that he does in the book. The first thing that I love that he does is when he looks out for her while she gets to drink, and he's like, I'm going to be sober. I'm going to look out for you. Have fun. I want you to have fun. I think a lot of us fell for Garrett Graham in that scene in the book. And then this is the other thing. Now, there has been a time where I saw a comment from someone on TikTok about the hands off law, about how it's Garrett not respecting her wishes. I can see where that person is coming from. Okay. Especially if they are a person in the Gen Z generation. They might see it as not really respecting her and like it being toxic. Listen, if we're talking about the real world, sure. But can we just keep it fucking for real? Like, it is a fictional romance book. It's not meant to be a how to do relationships. This is what you like. It's not like a messagey we're throwing out lessons. It's a story. And I think it's a beautiful story of a from strangers to friends to lovers, and how these two people, these really strong protagonists, I really love both Garrett and Hannah as characters. I think they're great. Um, how these strong characters do have a bit of a tragic past, but they have been able to survive and live through it and come together in a really like organic way. They formed trust and friendship. The book has a lot of great things going on, okay? And I just feel like if you were a TV writer of the show and you didn't appreciate that part of the book, why make this a show? I just because now I feel like the way that they're gonna back the way that they're I can't speak. And it's like I think it's past 1 o'clock. Now I feel like it's going to end in a lot more conventional way where she's finally going to be able to come up with her song. She's going to perform at her showcase. This man is going to realize he fucked up and he shows up at the showcase. They're going to have a look, they're going to have some words, and then they get back together. How many times have we seen that? How many like I'm thinking of at least two movies right now. We saw that basically in Save the Last Dance. We saw that in Take the Lead, those dance movies. How many times have we seen somebody show up to a performance and that's supposed to be like the declaration of like love, please forgive me, and then they get back together? Those were great and all, but like my point is we've seen that 100 times. And I just feel like Elle Kennedy wrote something that feels more unique to that. I'm not saying that she's like the first person who ever invented it, but I can't really think of like a hands-off law that has happened in recent years anyway, being shown on the screen. And I feel like Elle handed you a banger reconciliation scene on a silver plate. You did not have to write it or come up with it on your own. She wrote it in the book, and you could have taken the opportunity to do something unique. I'm saying all of this not having seen the last episode yet, but I just feel strongly about how this breakup happened because it's so different. And I don't see how a hands off law can happen now. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's see how this section of this video ages. But for me, you take out a really special part of that book if you take that out, because I think it's all about this is very character based, right? And I think the things that happen tells us things about the characters. Even like the spicy scenes tells us things about the characters. It's part of the story. And I already pretty much talked about this, but I just feel like the hands-off law, it doesn't come off to me and to a lot of people as being something that's horrible and toxic and disrespectful. It is we're getting more a glimpse into Garrett's mind and heart and soul, that he is fighting for them. Like he's fighting for their love. Like he knows this girl is it for him and he knows how she feels about him and he's fighting for it. That is why he doesn't buy her bullshit. And I stand by that. That is one of the more romantic, sexiest, non-sexual things that he does. in this spicy novel. And I really am wondering, like, why, like, what is the reasoning for taking that part out of it? Again, I'm saying this before I see the last episode. So we'll see how this ages. But just disappointed. I'm probably gonna make like another separate video, just speaking a little bit more elegantly about the show. This has been mostly like a basically we're on FaceTime and I'm like reacting like right after I watch the episodes and coming to you and talk to you because I want to hear you guys in my comments. Let me know your reactions. I want to hear your thoughts. But yeah, well, I'm gonna see the next episode and then let's see if I end this video raging or if I end this video really happy or if I'm somewhere in the middle. Okay, I'll catch you guys soon. Hey, so it is clearly a different day. I had to wait to get access to episode 8 here, and I have to be really honest here. Not only is it a different day, but I had to watch the last episode twice before I could gather my thoughts and turn on the camera and talk. And to be honest, I don't know how cohesive this is going to be because I have like a roller coaster of emotions and thoughts. And I think that's just something that I can't help because I can't turn back time and unread the book. I have read the book. It's a book that I've reread. So I just have it in my brain, in my heart and soul. And there are a lot of changes in this finale. And I am just going to talk about the big elephant in the room here because I do think because I'm recording this before I see any online reactions from fans and non-fans on this whole 8 episode series. So I want to acknowledge that I think there is going to be quite a lot of conversations amongst readers about the ending of this, namely a very important iconic moment in the book towards the end that is very much changed here, and that is the campus-wide hands-off law. I just want to take a moment and let's just get into it and talk about it because this is a big change. It got me just really disappointed. And I think I talked about it in my last clip for episode 7 on why they probably were going to change this. And there is a line in here by Allie that says that would have been really problematic. And I just didn't really appreciate it because I feel like you're kind of shitting on the people who have read this book for so many years and who love the book and who love that moment. And I do try to think about things from different sides and try to be logical. And I understand that maybe to some people's minds that the thing that he does in the book would seem maybe overbearing or problematic or blah, 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 other words like controlling. But I think it's important to note that for me, the campus-wide hands-off law, why I love it so much, it's not because it's a hands-off law specifically. It's more like of what it represents. It represents to me how much Garrett is fighting for the relationship, fighting for them, for their love. And I just knew that we probably were not going to get it because they've changed it in the show where he's the one that breaks it off versus in the book, she's the one who breaks it off when she really, really doesn't want to, but she's being forced to by the father. Reading it, it never came off as something that is problematic to me. I thought it came off as really funny just because like the scene is starting off pretty funny. Like she walks into the locker room, they're all naked and she sees so many penises and she's like, oh God, there's different shaped penises all around me. Where's Garrett? And they've recontextualized it in the show where his teammate, I think his teammate overhears Dean saying something about how Garrett would lose his shit if like Wellesley's with somebody else. And so I think it kind of comes off as like a, not really a hands off law, but like something that got like out of hand by accident. And then Garrett comes in saying, I would never ever do that. And but even in the book, he kind of does say, like, I'm not a psycho, babe. I was doing it for your sake because I knew if you went out with anybody else, you would feel like crap. It never felt like it was the wrong thing here. But I do think that maybe the showrunners and writers are kind of catering to people who would think that. Because the fact is, and I do recognize the fact is, the people who are watching, who are going to watch this show are not only book readers, but there's going to be a lot of people who watch this show who have not read the books. I know that. Okay, I mean, even for a show like Bridgerton, I didn't even know that was a book series until after I watched season 1. And I think there were a lot of people like that for Bridgerton. So I think it's going to be the same thing for Off Campus. And I think that maybe to them, or maybe they were told by studio heads and whatnot, that this would just seem too problematic and that we need to recontextualize it and change it up. Which is, I think, going to be a sad thing for a lot of readers. I know that for me, it's kind of sad. I'm sad that we lost it. But catering it to the masses, and the masses are the people who have not read this book. I was 100% right, which I think I mentioned in my last clip, that if he breaks it off, the way that they're going to get back together is like, she's going to perform at the showcase, he's going to show up, and then they're going to get back together. Something we've seen 100,000 millions trillions of times. But because I was already in a downward spiral and my stomach was in knots while watching this episode, I thought they might fuck this up even more and end it in a cliffhanger where they stay broken up by the end of season 1. If they really want to shake things up to make it even more dramatic for television, I thought maybe, oh my God, are they going to do that? But thankfully, they did not. Thankfully, we at least get Hannah and Garrett back together again, as they should, because this is a romance series from a romance novel, and you need an HEA for it to be a romance. All romance readers and authors know this. Okay, that is definitively what a romance novel is. So I am thankful that we at least get them back together. And I just have to remind myself that I always have the book. And then just transparency with you. As I was waiting to watch episode 8, I did rewatch episodes 1 through 7 several times. And I even revised some of my opinions in this video for certain scenes that I didn't really love before, but then like I rewatched it, ended up changing my opinions on them. So 1 through 7, I ended up really enjoying for what it is. If you're going to depict this novel from the book to the screen, like at least all of the big moments were there. Some things were switched around, but I was having a good time with it. And I just can't help but feel just like let down on one of the truly iconic moments. And just for me, it's not even just an iconic moment in the book, but I think it's one of the best reconciliation scenes in a romance book. It just is. It's hard for me to like continue on to other storylines that's happening here, because like that's the thing that like we're all like waiting for. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of like distraught, you guys. Not distraught. I know I'm kind of like being emotional and dramatic probably to you, but it just has left kind of a odd taste in my mouth. I say odd taste because I feel like it could have been worse, as I've already mentioned before, and how like they could have just have them not be together again. And I think there were some great acting moments in here. I do like seeing them still kind of like yearning and pining after each other, even though I don't like going through so much pain during a breakup. And I probably would still rewatch this, but I probably would just not watch the last episode because it's just too upsetting to me. But I have enjoyed a lot of Hannah and Garrett's interactions and their growing connection in different moments from episodes 1 through 7, that I do see myself probably still revisiting it, but I just won't rewatch the last episode because we just kind of we lose that moment. And I just, in case you're a reader, sorry, in case you are somebody who's still watching this video at this point, by the way, shout out to you, and you have not read the book, if I were to tell you in the show, if Hannah had broken it off because she's forced to by the dad, or even if, okay, let's take away the blackmail. Let's say she feels responsible for the fact that Garrett is suspended and he gets in trouble because of the fight, and she decides in her head, oh crap, like I'm messing up his life because like this my trauma is affecting other people. I need to like say something to him to break things off, hurt him so that he knows that it's over. And then the breakup happens, and then we would have the scene where he crashes out for at least a night where he's getting drunk, but then like he thinks about it and he's like, no, she's lying to me, she's lying to me. And then like we get the hands off law, like because during the breakup scene she tells him, I want to see other people, and that's the reason why um he decides to do that, just so that she doesn't go out with anybody and then feel bad for it later on. But like Garrett is not like this controlling psycho of a person. So I'm curious to know if that would have been something that you would have liked to see or maybe prefer to see, or do you prefer this type of resolution to the breakup? I'm sure this is something that I might talk about more in some YouTube shorts or my TikTok, but I do have to move on to other storylines because it's already 12 minutes and I'm still talking about the hands off law that they deprived us of, and that I will be mourning for quite some time. But let's move on to some other twists and turns in this. The other big pieces in this. Okay, I'm confused at this whole showcase thing. And I've seen this twice, so whatever. But clarify for me, I thought the whole season was building up to the fact that Hannah needed to win the showcase so that she could get the scholarship and stay at Briar University. They changed this up because in the book she wins. In the show, she gets second place and she gets a paid internship. But how does that cover the scholarship for where she needs a tuition to stay in school? How is she still in school?
Hello, you guys. I'm interrupting myself again because after discussing it with a friend of mine, she was able to explain to me that there is a scene that happened between Hannah and her mom where the mom basically says something like her parents will help her and they'll take care of her. So that is probably how Hannah will be continuing to go to Briar University. That's something that I had forgotten because when I rewatch, I do just focus mainly on Hannah and Garrett. I skip to all their parts. They have so many great moments that that's just how that goes. But wanted to clarify, I now understand better how she's going to stay in school.
I don't understand it. Am I missing something? Or did she still get some kind of scholarship? I guess so, but I just they just stress so much that she had to win. She had to win, but then she doesn't win. But then like it's still a happy ending in that aspect where she gets an internship instead. And then let's get to Garrett's situation. Holy fuck. Okay. So he gets suspended for 4 games in this, but then because he practiced with the Bruins, that disqualified all of his, I think, 16 or 17 wins. So the wins are now down to 0. So I think now the his hockey team now has to win back all of those games to make it to the Frozen Four now. Do I have that correct? What does that mean? It almost feels like these two situations are kind of an excuse so that maybe Ella Bray and Belmont don't have to maybe appear in every episode next season. Is that what that is? I don't know, but I'm just kind of confused.
Hi, it's me again with another little edit here. So, I saw the interview with Louisa Levy, the showrunner, and she said that Hannah and Garrett are not going anywhere and that they will still be a part of this world. So, we don't have to worry about that. Okay? Okay.
As to why, because now also they have now made John Logan captain, which ding 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 does not happen in the book. In his book, he is actually going through his own um crisis with like being on the hockey team and feeling like he has to stay home after he graduates and not go on to the Bruins because he has these responsibilities. Like he's under a lot of pressure as well. But now you have made him captain. Is he even going to go through those similar troubles? I have no idea. And I don't fully understand, is Garrett out for only 4 games or is he out for an entire season? Because now they have to win like a bunch of games. Like they have to get to 16 more games. I'm confused. It is not clear to me. And I would love to hear your opinions on that, or if you got more clarity from that. Maybe I'm just still reeling from the reconciliation that I just wasn't like, I was like partly just not retaining information correctly, but I'm just confused at that. And let's get to the other twist of this. They have really just like sped up Dean and Allie's storyline. Like I am anxious and eager to see how people react to that because I know people love the score. Like they love the score and they have changed up a fucking lot. Okay, there's just no way around saying that. Um so Dean decides that he likes Allie and he just wants to be with her, but she's already fucked somebody else, which in her book that doesn't happen. She insists on their situationship being exclusive. She doesn't want either of them to be sleeping with other people because Allie's just not that type of person. She just wants to be able to sleep with just one person. But in the show, they've changed this up where she is really out here trying to be this, I can just be a non-relationship girl and I'm just gonna bang whoever I want, which like, you know, in real life you do you, but I'm talking about a specific character from a book, which like that's just not part of her personality. But I think that's true to life where some girls, that's just not part of their personality, where they don't want to be doing those things. So that's a huge change for that character. Because she bangs Carter St. James, who AKA was a fake name because that is actually Hunter Davenport. And if you don't know, if you don't remember, Hunter Davenport is a character from the spin-off series and the Briar U spin-off series. And he is a freshman in Dean and Allie's book. And there is never any kind of hookup or confrontation like that. So from the show, it seems as if Dean and Hunter had some beef from back in the day that had to do with Dean's sister. Again, that is something that we don't see until we get to Hunter's book and the Briar U books. So they're just like switching all of that up, which honestly, I don't remember every single little sordid detail. But I do know that that drama does not happen in Dean and Allie's book. So that is a huge change there. And obviously, I understand it's put in there to for dramatic effect because this is a visual medium. It's a college set romance show. These are young adults that are going to be doing all types of fuckery and messing up and all of these things, all this drama. So now I feel like, is it going to be like some kind of weird love triangle between or like amongst Dean, Allie, and Hunter? I don't know. That is completely new. That is show invented. That does not happen in the book. And I can only imagine how the score lovers are gonna be crashing out about that one, y'all. Uh, yeah. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I made this last clip a lot longer than I meant to, but I had a lot to get off of my chest. Um, but I do want to wrap this up. And like I said, I'm sure I will be sharing even more thoughts probably in on TikTok or on YouTube Shorts, and I'll be conversing with you guys online, I'm sure. And again, if you are making it through the end of this video, leave me a hockey emoji, and shout out to you. I really appreciate your time and dedication. But it is late at night now. I need to get my ass to bed. And thank you again for coming on this journey with me. It was really quite a roller coaster because it was like an evolution where I watched it in one go and then like I rewatched, so I had to revise some opinions, and then I had my little crash out about episode 8. And it kind of also lessens my excitement for upcoming seasons because now I don't even know. Sorry, I said I was going to be done, but I'm not done because I just remembered that now I'm questioning if John Logan and Grace's story will even be the same, because it doesn't seem like Logan even has his crush anymore, because the crush is what causes him to fuck up with his love interests. But maybe they will still keep that in where he's kind of like looking longingly at Garrett's relationship and wishing that like he had somebody in his life. And then it kind of causes him to have his crash out and messes up with his love interest, perhaps, maybe. I don't know. I'm still like, he's captain now. What? I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna end it now. It's already been too long. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate you, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye bye.